Hello and welcome to the Villa Park podcast. It's me, Rich, and I'm back with the main man, Gareth, the number one football analyst out there, for a bit of a talking tactics pre-season special, a little bit of a teaser for the season to come. Obviously, we've got plenty of shows to bring you, delving into all of the tactics around Aston Villa. So we thought we'd do a little bit of a teaser, get Gareth's thoughts on how he thinks Unai Emery might be approaching this new season, any concerns, any excitement, anything he might need to tweak. So, yes, we will get straight into it. Hit that like button, hit that subscribe button. No, we are past 4,500 subscribers on the road to 5K. So get your comments in, make sure you like, make sure you subscribe to help us grow. Gareth, it's been a little while. We did a show over the summer, over pre-season, but it's been a little while. So how you feeling, mate?
Yeah, good. Yeah, I
Yeah.
think it's early days again, and it is pre-season jitters. We all get a little bit sort of, competition's going to be sort of fierce again, but we'll see how we go.
That's it. That's it. It's one of those, isn't it? We did our season predictions on the weekend, so do make sure you check that out. We've got fans forum coming. We've got we've got previews for West Ham coming up. So there's that sense of excitement, nerves, trepidation, anticipation, all molded into one. So yeah, how do you think from an analyst perspective you're feeling about Aston Villa going into this new season?
Yeah, pre-season wasn't great, was it? I think a lot of people sort of say, "Oh, well, it's only pre-season. Let's not get too worked." But the idea of pre-season is to get in the best possible shape you can for the league ahead. And I don't quite think we're there, are we, in terms of sort of where he wants us to be and where fans we want us to be. I think the Dortmund game was a big test. I think that was sort of the hardest probably game we've faced. And I think if we'd have done a little bit better there and even got a draw, people, well, we've got a draw against the Champions League semi-finalists sort of thing. So it's very difficult. Pre-season is just about trying to get the players up to speed and with new additions and everything else, and bedding them in. But I think more importantly, I think people miss the point that people like Conser and Watkins are not involved, and that's massive because Watkins especially is a massive part of obviously how we play. And if he can't be involved in pre-season, then we're kind of like we're a bit short. We haven't got Duran sort of, and you're relying on Cameron Archer, and we've seen Leon Bailey, haven't we, up front on his own sort of thing. So it's about getting players back, and I think this week is massive for them.
Mm. So on that, what have you noticed, if anything, Unai Emery has been trying to do? Have you noticed any differences in approaching certain tactical aspects of the game, or have you noticed any different patterns of play? What have you noticed he's been trying to do in pre-season?
Yeah, I don't think in terms of sort of like first phase build up, sort of like from goalkeeper to Torres and everything, I don't think much has changed.
Mm.
Shape wise, I've noticed a bit more that we started off. I think the first game was like a 4-5-1, like into a 4-3-3, and we didn't see that a lot last season. So I think that's something that he's trying to experiment with to get sort of three across that front line. So maybe Rodgers, Bailey, and Watkins across that front line. Drifting into, there's a thread online by it, but just moving inside a little bit with Bailey and Rodgers to make it a bit more compact. But I think it's Douglas Luiz is a bit of the issue. You were sort of building a lot through him, and how does he decide who he wants to build up through midfield? Is he going to still go out to Luca Digne like we saw a lot? We talked about it a lot last season, building up on the left hand side. We still haven't got that right side sorted, have we? And again,
No.
that's still coming from last season. So I can't see that being sorted before West Ham. So it looks like we're going to still go through that left-hand side. But yeah, patterns of play, in terms of patterns of play, again, I think it's straight through the middle. It's straight sort of power, and they're trying to feed. I noticed they're trying to get the ball into Rodgers in central areas a lot more quicker. I think they are trying to do that. I think he's kind of caught between two things, just like he was last season. Does he play central? Does he utilise Bailey out on that right-hand side a lot more? What does he do? And I think getting a right back changes things a little bit. Because then he's got
Yeah.
that. We talked about it so much last year that it never happened, did it?
No. No, it is a strange one because some of you can see signs where Martin looks quite tidy and quick in areas. Onana, you can see he's going to be a really good physical presence that we've needed. He links up well with Tielemans at times. But then there's also like little elements where Emery obviously has this way of playing that has been so well structured and so well thought out, and the players have really taken to it so well. The only thing is now it's getting into that third season of that tactical structure. You've seen it already in pre-season. Yes, we've played against teams that have been into their season, so they've been much more up and running. But the Dortmund game, we just got shut down so easily, and it was so difficult for us to get out. And then our passing became a little bit slow and ponderous. And I'm just a little bit concerned that if we don't have someone to hit up top, or if we don't have a slightly different tactical approach, that we are going to get almost bogged down and finding it really difficult to get out if that is the only way that we're going to play.
Yeah, and I think we talked about it a lot last season. Even though Watkins is a very good centre forward, he's not that much of a focal point. We did sort of, and I think that's what they were hoping for John Duran. I think he was hoping to be more that focal point. We spoke about it a lot. Where what are you going to do? Do you need a second striker to play in behind to be that link man, or are you going to play with two up top? We're not going to play with two up top, it seems. And I think, like I say, in the early days, we saw that 4-5-1, the 4-3-3 in pre-season. Against Dortmund, we reverted back to that typical 4-4-2 that we're so used to seeing, and I think that's what he's going to probably stick with, because that's just what they're used to playing. He seems to get the best out of them. Tried different things, it probably hasn't worked, but it's one of them things. I still think there's still going to be need additions. I think, and I'm with you. I think especially if Watkins gets injured, that focal point or anything to hit up top is gone, because we can't play in behind in the Champions League all the time. Teams are going to sit back, and they're experienced at doing that. Do we lack that little bit of a second option? Again, we spoke about all this so much in the season, last season.
Do you feel like Emery's got the targets that he's wanted or anticipated at the moment? I would say no to that. But do you think it's been slightly hampered with the PSR and having to balance that up as well?
Yeah, I think PSR was sorted quite early on. I think that's one thing that they have done really well, and the club have done really well. They got that sorted quite early on to allow funds to be freed up or whatever. But I still think we're missing that. I spoke about it on a feed yesterday online. I still think that we'll see Konsa as the right back. I still think that's going to be the way they go until they can get a Maatsen style right back or a Digne style right back, whatever you want. I don't think he sees Matty Cash as that answer. So I think that's got to be sorted. I think another central midfield. I think without Kamara, I think they were hoping Kamara would be back. I think they were sort of hanging their hat on that a little bit, and he obviously maybe wasn't. So they need to sort of try and adapt. But no, I don't think he has got all the targets that he wants, Rich. I think he still wants a centre forward, and I still think that centre and midfield is a quandary. How they're going to set that up?
Yeah. I mean, he's got so many options really in that midfield area, almost an embarrassment of riches there. When you look at the names, Onana, Tielemans, McGinn, Barrenechea, who's surprised a fair few. Obviously, Ross Barkley, who I know you had reservations about, Morgan Rogers, Jacob Ramsey, Emi Buendia. I mean, Ealing Jr. has been dropping into them, but I feel he's more of a wide player. But you've got so many players there that it is in a lot of ways, it's great to have those options, but in other ways, it's difficult to try and fit them in and get them used to Emery's specific way of playing.
Yeah, and I don't think they wanted Samuel Ealing Jr. as part of that deal. I think they did want Weston McKennie. I think that was because that was talked about initially early on, wasn't it? And I think that would have solved a little bit of a midfield issue there. Not a fan favourite for a lot of people, but I think they initially wanted that. And I think Ealing Jr. was kind of that little bit of a make-weight in a lot of aspects. I just wonder how they're going to, because he wants someone sitting like Luiz used to do. I don't think Onana or Tielemans are that type of player. So therefore, you are then waiting on Kamara. But then again, what are you going to want to do in the meantime? I still think it'll be Onana and Tielemans starting. I think it will be. I still think Digne will start against West Ham.
Yeah. No, it's very interesting. I mean, on to, I guess, real positives as well, because like I say, we're going into the season with so much excitement, so much anticipation. It's a Champions League season as well. There have been some real positives. Nedeljkovic has come out on really well this preseason. But in a chair, as I said, maybe a slight knock for the Dortmund game. We didn't get to see him, but he looks really busy, wants the ball, and a slightly different type of midfielder than what I think a lot of Villa fans expected. Then you've got Morgan Rogers, who I think is going to be blossoming into a real leader in this team at such a young age. So and Ramsey seems like he struck up a good relationship with Rodgers as well. So there's lots of things to really be excited about if we can maybe iron out one or two of these issues. And that strength and that kind of core of players that we've got really will carry us through as well.
Yeah, I think from what I sort of looked at a lot of different situations, a lot of formations, what I think, and I think the 4-3-3 for me, it could have worked quite well if you'd got sort of, maybe Barrenechea in the centre of that midfield three or Onana, and you've got McGinn on the right, Ramsey on the left, and then the three up top in Rodgers, Bailey, and Watkins. And I think that kind of takes care of itself. It's the back four, isn't it, that seems to be that major sort of quandary for them. And what do they do? But yeah, Rodgers for me looks to be the key. And is he going to keep Ramsey out of the side? But I still think Ramsey could play sort of a little bit further back for me, not as in the defensive midfield, but is maybe in sort of in a pivot maybe, or maybe as part of that midfield free to drive, because I think that's what they want to do.
He can get you territory. That's the thing. When he's fit and flying, he can get you, particularly away games. There was times where we used to get bogged down, didn't we? And if we didn't have Tielemans releasing us quickly, we'd get stuck in areas because Louise would keep the ball for too long, where Ramsey can just go.
Yeah, I think that's what he wants. He wants to get that ball into midfield from, say, Pau Torres from a centre half, and he wants to turn and go, and he just wants to bypass almost like the two DMs almost, and just leave one screen in an arm. Just leave them, bypass them, because Rodgers and Ramsey are really, really good, especially by getting the ball, turning and driving, and that's what you want, because you're breaking lines, you're breaking through midfield, you're breaking through, and you're at the opposition goal. I think last year we complained, didn't we, that a lot of it was slow paced. And I think that was to do with Douglas Luiz. So I think if you can get that ball sort of in there quicker, it might work a bit better.
Yeah. Now, on your new analysis page, you're doing some specific Aston Villa analysis, which is fantastic. You mentioned yesterday around the average age of the team, and we've noticed that, and I think we talked about it last year in terms of physical profile and age of the team, and it has dropped in terms of the average age of the squad, and I think anecdotally the physical profile of the players. So what have you noticed with that, mate?
Yeah, it's interesting because some managers want a mix of experience and youth, and some just want to sort of come in and lower the age group. That's just what they want to do. And I think we've done that. I think the importance of sort of like it's a kind of a crossover, because Rodgers was signed, wasn't he, in the January? So you're kind of sort of crossing over between the two. But it's important to have that youth, considering the amount of games that they were. And I think some would that's why I was a little bit sort of worried about the signing of Ross Barkley. I know 30 is not old, but it is reasonably getting there for a footballer. But I think he will be vital. I'm not saying he's going to be the world beater, but I think to have players like that in the squad is important. But yeah, to get a younger age group is important. But more important, it's about contract length as well. How many players have you got that have only got so many years left on their deal? We don't know. Like I said online, we don't know the length of the deals of the Barrenechea deals and the Ilian Junior deal. We don't know that. But again, with Martinez creeping up to 30, Tyrone Mings, Diego Carlos, it's no sort of question why you're hearing sort of rumours about Diego Carlos going to Fulham, because it's not just because he's 30 years old, but it's a massive part of it. You're trying to get a younger centre half in and lower that age of the squad.
Yeah. I think, like you say, with the number of games that we've potentially got, and I think the lack of progress in the cup competitions would have irked Emery, and I think having the ability to maybe play. I mean, I think this is still a slight issue. The level of ability yet of the players that might come in on that next game, like after a Champions League game, or the next game, like after a league game going into the cup game. I think that still is a slight question mark, but I think that is an area where he's improving, because he's got younger players that do at least have first team experience to go into maybe a game after a league game or after a Champions League game.
Yeah, I do agree with you. I think that the level of the ability of this squad is not one yet that will get to a Carabao Cup final and an FA Cup final and the last 16 of the Champions League and finish fourth in the league. I don't think that's feasible, and I don't think we should expect that of them. I think a lot of people, if we can get out the group stage of the Champions League, happy days. I think that's great. And I think if get into a cup, managers don't go into a season and think to themselves, right, we're going to target a Carabao Cup final, right, we'll go for the FA Cup, we're going to those sort of cup competitions, you see how you go in the early stages, and if you get to a last 16 or a quarter final, then you start thinking about it. But then you've got to prioritise, haven't you? What do you want to do?
Mm-hmm. Exactly. Now, you mentioned about Konsa, Martinez, Watkins being so important to us. And I would have slightly liked to have maybe had another couple of big signings that maybe take that or threaten to take that pressure off. Maybe Onana could be one of those players, but at the moment they're so big for us. This could be categorized across numerous clubs in the Premier League because of the Copa America, because of the Olympics, because of the Euros. Do you see it taking a little bit of time for Villa and maybe other teams to get into the season because it's been disjointed across a pre-season?
I think we're lucky that one of our major players is a goalkeeper. So
Mm-hmm.
you're not bedding having to sort out 4 outfield players. You've got a goalkeeper. He knows the crack, Emi Martinez. He's involved in that build up. He knows what he's doing. So you can take him out of the equation as in terms of worrying about it. I think with Watkins, how fit will he be? Initially, who do we start against West Ham? Does he start against West Ham? I'm not so sure that he does as it stands at the minute. But I mean, do you worry about it so much? I don't know. It depends how fit they come back. I mean, that's what it comes down to, isn't it?
Yeah. It's just interesting that we've had so many new players to integrate into a team and a structure that Emery's got. Obviously, these players are experienced in the way that Unai Emery likes to operate, but they're not necessarily experienced with those players. But as you say, he probably goes more tried and trusted in the first 2 or 3 games anyway. So yeah.
I think it's different as factors. Sort of, it's not a new manager that's coming in the summer and he doesn't know the players, and like you kind of pointed it out. And Watkins and Konsa, both the 2 outfield players that we're talking about here, know exactly what their roles are in that squad, and not much has changed in that aspect, as it? We don't think it has. So I think you're right. I don't think there's much to worry about in terms of that. I think it's more Watkins for me. I think Konsa steps probably straight back in. But Watkins, we're not so sure about, are we? So it's just a case of getting there and seeing how we go against West Ham, especially. It's going to be a difficult game because West Ham have recruited quite well. I still don't see them sort of, outblowing everybody like people are talking about. I don't see it because things at West Ham tend to go awry quite quickly, don't they? And I think it's one of them things. We've just got to see how we go and provide a solid performance, I think. But fitness-wise, for me, it just depends how they're at.
Yeah. I agree. So just to round off, I know we're going to be back with plenty of Talking Tactics shows. Obviously, we've got league fixtures, we've got Champions League, we've got so many games to consider, and you've set up this Villa analysis page on X that we'll go into. I'm sure you'll have some new analysis for us and the viewers to keep us excited. So you did touch on it just briefly there. So what are your hopes and kind of expectations for Aston Villa moving into this season, and what
I
what
think
are
I'm
you
like a lot of
excited
people.
about?
Yeah, I think I'm like a lot of people. I think I'd like to see us do well in a cup competition, but I'm not quite sure about how we go about that. I think what do they prioritise? I think the league is, for every manager, is the priority. I think if we finish 6th, I think that's a good season in the league. I think that's a good season. I think anything below that, I would be a bit disappointed given how we finished last. But people are tending to forget how close it was last season. We could have easily finished 6th, couldn't we? And we didn't, luckily. So I think 6th would be a good season in the league. At the group stage, like I said, in the Champions League would be a right result. And I think for me, a decent run in the FA Cup. I'm not too worried about the Carabao Cup.
No, well, and also it's early in the season, isn't it? It's like the 3rd week of September, so we'll all be in Champions League fever, So, yeah, it is so exciting to think about, and it's weird because I don't know if I'm echoing many Villa fans' thoughts, but I am excited, but I'm also nervous. I do feel like the scrutiny might be on us that little bit more. I do feel like it. I don't know why, but I just do. I think the times of that momentum is kind of like, right, now you're there. Let's see what you've got.
Yeah, I got that vibe from you on the WhatsApp group this morning. There's a little bit, and I totally get that. I think I'm in your camp there. I think if we as Villa fans, we say this, but if things go wrong, scrutiny, like you say, is on us big time. And we've seen this group of players drop a little bit, haven't we, when they've been under scrutiny before and they get a little bit sort of tense when the press on. But we did well towards the end of last season.
Yeah.
And I don't think that I think it will aid us well that we were in European competition last year.
Yeah,
It's
definitely.
nothing new to us. We're going to be, and don't forget, we'll probably get an extra day's rest, which is pretty good. We'll be, sort of Saturday, Tuesday, Saturdays, Wednesdays, as opposed to the Thursdays. And they coped really well, those players. I mean, I know they were tired towards the end, but they coped really well with it. And I think we'll do the same here.
Yeah. Well, look, you've kept my mind at rest. I'm so excited. I think it's just nerves. But I'm so excited for the season to come, and I do think we've got some really good players, and the signings that he's made, I think, have it on the whole performed really well in pre-season, and the signs are really good. And we forget we have a good team, and that's the thing. We do already have a good team, so I think one or two additions, maybe let one or two players go, and then I think we'll be cooking, mate. But yeah, fantastic.
I mean, I think another centre half for me, and another centre forward. I can't see the centre forward because I think he's going to stick with Duran. So I just think another centre back and maybe a right back. And I think we're even with Costa though, we're pretty good. So I think we're all right, not too bad.
Yeah, yeah. Well, we will thank you for this, Gareth. Anyway, and we've got, like I say, we've got so many more talking tactics to come. I did mention your new site and your new page on X. Just shout that out, and anything else that you're doing.
Yeah, I just wanted to do something for sort of like just pure because I clog up a lot of people's times with different things. So we just wanted to do sort of one sort of feed for Villa analysis that we do on talk about on air as well. So very much in conjunction with this, and it's at one Villa analysis. So just get following it, and we'll simplify a lot of things and just as the season goes through.
Fantastic. There you go. So at one Villa analysis on X. And if you haven't already, make sure you join our Villa Park Podcast FPL League. I'm terrible at Fantasy Premier League, but I'm still going to give it a go. Use the league code there and join, and we will have prizes at the end of the season, which I'll reveal over the coming week. And as I say, we're back with Fans Forum tonight. This is Tuesday tonight at 10. We've got match preview with Dan Lawless from West Ham Fan TV coming up this week. We've got our big match preview as well with the lads. So loads and loads of shows, probably transfer talk as well, if more of the rumours, if we do actually sign a couple of players. So make sure you stay tuned to the channel. Hit the like button, hit the subscribe button. Thank you for watching. Thanks for your time, Gareth. And as always, remember, we all follow the Villa.